Sorry about the noise in the background, but I'll try and be very clear. So what this is a quick investigation to show and introduce students into the concept of variables. And this is a kind of investigation design prompt that will get students to think about variables. We just have a takeaway container here, two elastic bands just joined together, placed under the chair here. If you don't have a chair, you can just use retort stands or something like that. So we can pull the takeaway container back and release it. You can see that the takeaway container travels a certain distance. And of course we can just keep repeating that. Now hopefully you can use this as a chance to then get students to start exploring possible independent variables. So hopefully the students will come up with the idea that how far you pull the container back before releasing is a possible independent variable. You could add things, objects, to change the mass of the container. You would add water to the container, a whole range of different materials, which is another possible independent variable. You could change the number of elastic bands that are stretched across the chair. That's another possible independent variable. Of course, you could change the type of rubber bands, so you could change the thickness of rubber bands. Trying to keep continuous variables here if possible. So there's some possible independent variables. Some possible dependent variables. Hopefully the students will come up with the idea that of course you can measure the distance travelled by the container. You could measure the speed if you measure the time it takes for the container to travel a known distance. You could measure just time directly. If you use video analysis, you could measure acceleration and things like that. So there's quite a few possible dependent variables, and once students work out an independent and dependent variable, you can then work on with or move on to controlled variables. So hopefully students will realize it's important if you're going to measure mass, for example, that how far you pull the container back is a controlled variable. The surface that the container moves on is a controlled variable. If you're going to change the mass, the position of the mass is very important, and whether the mass is fixed or loose is very important as well in terms of getting a fair test. So this is a great little investigation with plenty of variables there. It's a good way to introduce students to variables and get them thinking about all the possible independent, dependent and controlled variables. So I recommend that this is an investigation to introduce students to variables. You can use a different investigation if you like, but very simple equipment and a whole range of different possibilities that students can derive from it. Thank you very much.